This time the quick speed shop, check it out, bam! I'm installing the freshly painted rear end in the 40 Mercury. We're putting new brakes on it, and it's all starting right now. I'm a professional, don't try this at home. Bam! Holy parts pile here, Batman. So I've got all the parts out here for reassembly the Mercury. Got my new brake drums, which I bought like 3 months ago. I can get them painted up. I got some axle seals here. Apparently I ordered 4 of them for whatever reason. Maybe they were on closeout. I had ordered some, I think these are longer shackles. If I had to get the frame, the springs away from the frame a little bit. I'm not going to need these. I'll put these back in the stock. Got wheel cylinders here from Raybestos. I got some nickel copper iron brake line and 3/8 for the fuel line. Emergency brake cables. This is the disc brake or the drum brake hardware kit. This is a fuel pump rod for the fuel pump. And my bumper irons. Got the gasket for the differential cover there. So a whole pile of parts on the table ready to go in. What I want to do is get the rear end back in the car now that the paint is dry. I put on a coat of I gave it a shot of Rust-Oleum semi-gloss just to brighten it up a little bit to match the leaf springs. The Eastwood rust encapsulator was a little flatter. Well, you can see it over here on the axles. It's a little duller. So I gave that a shinier coat with the semi-gloss to match the leaf springs. So that's ready to go in. I'll probably pop the axle seals in real fast here while I got it out on the jack stands. And then I'm going to put the springs in the car and put the rear end in the car and assemble the brakes and all that once it is in the car because it's easier. This is kind of precarious here. So I'm going to go ahead and pop them out of there and just put the new ones in. To get the seal out, I've got a seal pulling tool here that just goes and you can like use it to lever out your seals. Actually, let me hold one up to make sure I'm not bone myself here. Yeah, looks like it's going to go in there. Alright, so you take your seal puller tool and you hook your seal. Just kind of give her a tap. Boo! Just like that. Pulls it right on out of there. Bam! Now you take your new seal. I've got a seal driver. It's just a cheap setup. It's a piece of aluminum with some plastic discs on it, which are crooked, by the way. Get on there. And you just take your seal. Get it started. Then you use this tool to drive it in here. Gotta get a hammer. Take my dead blow and this and drive the seal right up in. Oops. Dang it. Hold on, I had a malfunction. The bolt came out of my seal driver. Almost went in the housing. I got it. Rescued. Catastrophe averted. So you can see she's like half driven in there. Just got to give her another little tap and it'll go right in. Oop. Bam, just like that. There we go. Brand new steel seal installed, nice and flush. Got a new seal for our axle. Okay, got the rear end up in the air here. Last time I did this, I kept the rear end up in the air and then I dropped the leaf springs first. So I think I'm going to put it back that way first here. Put my shackles in because it's a fight. I've got the front of the leaf spring, the bolt in, but it's not tight. So I can get this to work. Now, should be able to just go and stick this guy right up in here, like so. Get in there. Yep. Yep. Huzzah. Bam. There we go. Nice. over there. There we go. I'm gonna let the jack down a little bit here. Oops. I'm gonna get under the front of the pinion to hold it so it can't flip forward. Should be kind of, all right, there we go. Okay, I put some grease between the leaf spring and the rear end pad. Put some acid grease on top. I'm going to put some grease on the bottom where the U-bolt lower spring pad goes. So there'll be grease there, there'll be grease for everything so it shouldn't squeak. And I can get the U-bolts hung on here and tightened down by hand. And then I can wiggle the thing around, make sure it's all seated all the way good. And then I'll tighten the front of the bolts, the rear shackles, and then all the U-bolts and everything, get this thing bolted right in place. Right, bam, there we go. Got everything all bolted in, got the U-bolts all snugged up here. I'm going to take the can of paint, I'm just going to rattle can some and go and hit some paint on the nuts where the paint's chipped off. And over here you can see it closer here where the paint just got knocked off there, but everything looks good. It's mounted up in there nice and tight. Okay, I've only got half the proper brake tools here. I've got this tool which goes and takes these things off, but I don't have a proper tool for the spring here. That's alright. Let's see if I can back the adjuster wheel off. Ooh, that's sharp on my fingers. There we go. I'll go ahead and I'll clean the adjuster wheel up with some grease on the threads and stuff like that. But so I can do this so I'll kill myself. One thing I did notice in the hardware kit, it didn't come with a little cable that pulls on this part. Luckily I've got that. It's in good shape. Oh, get off there. Oh. Ha! Man, that's a serious spring. Why is this so freaking tight? Oh! Careful. Man. Come on, man. Man. Woo! Man, that's on there. All right, now all right, there we go. Now, got new e-brake cables as well, so I can get this remnant of the old cable out of here. Ta-da! Alright, there we go. I'm going to take my, I'll run these on the wire wheel, clean up the ends of these for the wheel cylinder. I think they are two 5/16 bolts. There you go, there's our old wheel cylinder. This thing was shot, and it's got rust in there. New ones are super cheap. So there we go, the brakes are all disassembled. I'm just going to go ahead and scrape this and clean it up a little bit. I might just rattle can some flat black in here just to cover up some of the bare metal that I missed here when I hit it with the sandblaster. But then I'll reassemble this and then do the other side, and we'll be ready to rock and roll. Bam, there we go. That took a little bit longer than I thought it was going to take. Look fast to you guys, but the emergency brake cable here, which I got new e-brake cables, are pretty long, so they should work good up in the front of the car. I've had this problem before where the spring is way too long on the back side, and I've had that happen before with cars. Anyways, I ended up cutting the spring, about an inch of it, and rolling it back up on itself to get it into the right place. Luckily, I had the old piece of cable, so I was able to measure how long the spring had to actually be, and it was like an inch too long. So I cranked that back up, so now I got the e-brake hooked up. Got all my brand new hardware on here. Got my new wheel cylinder in. Got some black paint just rattle canned up on here. Everything looks good. These are in here. Now I just got to wait until the axles get back in. I painted the brand new drums I have. Then I can adjust the brake, but everything is on here good. It is floating like it's supposed to. I put a little bit of grease on the back, the sliding surfaces, so everything's dialed in here. Okay, I'm ready to slide the axles back in. I've already got the passenger axle in, and I slide them in. I've got that center pin there just in temporarily to hold spider gears where they got to be. So I'm going to get the driver's side axle slide in, slide out the center pin, put the C-clips in, and then put the pin back in. We'll have the rear end all bolted together here. Kirk. Take my magnet, shove the axle in. Okay. Oh, shoot. Get out of there. Hopefully you can see this here. I'll just shove the second axle in. There we go. And then I will take the second C-clip, place it on there. Like that. And I push the axle back. Now both axles are pushed back in home. I'll go ahead and reinstall my center pin here. It's just that easy. I mean, C-clip rear ends are real easy to work on because it basically took 2 seconds to put the axles in. But you do have the problem that if you break an axle, since the C-clip locates it here, you break an axle, the axle shaft is coming right out of the car. So they make brackets, or like a C-clip eliminator kit that puts a mount on the outside to hold the broken axle. This car I'm not worried about it because it's got not really any power in highway gears, and it's not like a burnout machine or anything. It's not going to be beating on it, so it should be plenty fine. Okay, here we go. Perfect. There we go. Right, for the brake line, I'm using Conifer. It's a copper nickel iron alloy brake line. It's super flexible. It doesn't corrode. It doesn't rust out or nothing. It's real easy to bend. It comes in 25-foot rolls. I forgot to order fittings to go with it when I bought it at the auto parts store, but I was able to scare up 4 of them here. 2 short ones, 2 long ones. So I think I'll use the long ones on the wheel cylinders and short ones at the block. But I'm going to cut off a straight piece here and then go under the car and flare one end for the wheel cylinder, then you can form it all by hand real easy. Start forming out a piece and trim it to length and make the short line first and then make the longer line. So here we go. Here's the 8-inch Pro Street Rearend that came out of the car. You can see the old stainless steel brake lines. I pulled the T off of this one and I'm going to be using it here. So I needed to make a mount. I welded the spacer on here, which will go through the bolt for the vent tube there on the rear end, so I'll hold that on. And you can see it's got a braided AN line that goes to the original brake line that was on the car. So I'm going to use that for now. I went and I rebent the stainless steel line here. I reinstalled the clamp and bent it around, made a nice swoop here that's level, and then remounted then I remounted the bracket where the line attaches there with the AN adapter. Anyways, that'll get the lines here, then I can run the brake line right over here to the wheel cylinder. Then come along here, I'll use the factory tab here on the housing, even though I don't like running the brake lines. Usually I like to run them up and over the housing so you can get the cover off, but since this has got a factory, clip on here, I'll put it through there, and then it's got one over here, then we'll go to the wheel cylinder all the way over there. So come off along and run along and kirk. It'll come up and dip down through that and back over. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Okay, so I got the first piece bent in here. I just did a first flare to get the wheel cylinder piece on there. Did a little. This one's simple, super easy. I just did a little bend and then came straight right over to the T. So I'll take this off and I'll put it in the flare machine. I'll show you how I do that with my little flare. I was going to go to that tab on the rear end. I'm actually going to go here where this bolt's got that cutout in it. I'm going to make a little standoff and put a clamp up there and run the line up around the top of the rear end like I like to do, so it's not covering the cover. It just looks cleaner and you can get the cover off later. So let me bang this back out here. We'll go up to the bench. Okay, I got my awesome brake tool here. It's a TGR brake line. Also, like Eastwood and stuff makes them. But this is super awesome. So I got the die in here for 3/16. Go ahead and throw that in there. I'm just going to push the brake line in. It's kind of hard with 2 hands here, but it comes over. I did a video on this machine if you want to see it, the whole thing. It's pretty awesome. So I'm going to go here to operation 0, crank this in. Need 3 hands here. Tighten this down. All right. And it gets the brake line flush right here at the end of the die. You got my fitting on. You always want to make sure your fitting's on. I'm going to hit a little bit of oil here. Just a little dab will do you. We got into operation 0. Now go to operation 1 for 3/16. Go ahead and crank that in. Then operation 2 for 3/16. That's it. Look at that, perfect flare right on there. So now, got the perfect little driver's side line. Let's go ahead and put it back in the car. That's kind of short. I don't like it. I don't like it. Dang it. Well, it's kind of short. I don't like it. It's pulling it tight here at the fitting. Then I got a weird angle coming over here. I didn't account for it shortening up when I flared it. So I'm going to remake this a little bit longer because I want to come out of here with a bend and get on line. It just looks kind of hokey and unfinished. Like I didn't know what I was doing there. That's too short. Alright, bam, look at that. I got the brake line made and it's on there. Let me climb under, I'll show you. So I've been up the long brake line. Here's that bracket I made. I just made a little sheet metal or a flat stock tab with a brake line clamp on it. Ran all the way over, dipped down to the clamp on the rear end. I just used a little piece of rubber hose around the brake line so it doesn't rub on there. Hammered it down and then over to the wheel cylinder. So the brake lines are all complete. So I also used the AN brake line here. It's a little bit long, but I was able to swoop it over. And I took the spring and I made a mount so this thing can float like this. And as the rear end goes up and down, it'll have the spring on here so it won't droop over time. It'll have the spring hold it up, but there's plenty of travel there. It's here. All I got to do is run a rubber hose off the vent line up here. I'll probably just zip tie it or something up to this so I can just have a vent up off there. But the brake lines are all done now. I like it, the look of it going up over the housing better. It's uniform, and now I can take this cover off if I have to without, if the line went down across the housing here, it'd be a real drag. So last thing I'd do is just throw the drums on. I got new drums painted up. I'll throw them on, and eventually I'll get somebody to help me bleed the brakes. But the rear brakes are all hooked back up and everything's good. I'll throw the shock absorbers back up on here now that the lines are out of the way, and we'll be ready to rock and roll. Hey, bam, there we go. Got the drums on there, all installed. The thing is ready for action. Got the shocks installed. Got them all bolted up on there. Bam, so that's it. So I think next time I'm going to be running the fuel line and getting the fuel tank ready to go. I've got to build a filler neck for it. I like to have some kind of vent going somewhere. I got some Herculiner. I'm going to use some Herculiner here in the trunk floor. The Herculiner bed liner material, I got some of that. So we'll get that done. And then it's going to be real close to be able to set this thing down and roll it around. I still have to take the transmission out at some point and fix the clutch. It's not releasing all the way, but I want to get the thing at least fired up and mobile around here so I can turn it around and get to the transmission, get it easier to work on. But good progress today. Got those brakes all put back together. Got the brake lines run. Emergency brake cables stubbed up. I've still got to hook those up too. Man, I need a list. Got a lot of things going on here. So it was good progress on the 40 Mercury. Got a lot of little trinkets to finish up, but this thing should be on the road in no time. I'm really getting excited to get it fired up and see how it's going to run and sound and handle, and I think it's going to be a good cruiser car. So I'm looking forward to that. You guys have to stay tuned, whatever. Stay tuned. Come back. Come on back. Try it. Next time we can come back, we'll be working on more stuff here at the Quick Speed Shop. Appreciate everybody watching. Tell your friends, and we'll see you next time.